Yo guys, what's going on? My name is Eclihpse and today I have a brand new series for you guys. So obviously today's video is the best decks for Arenas 2 and 3. Then tomorrow I'll be uploading like the best decks and strategies for Arenas 4. Then the day after that will be Arena 5 and so on and so forth until I complete all of the arenas. Now down in the description below you will see a new playlist, and if you click that playlist I'll have each video from like this week in that playlist. So let's say you're not in Arena 2 and 3, let's say you're like in 4, you can click that playlist, view the Arena 4 video, and you'll be set. With all of that out of the way, we can finally get into the main portion of today's video. I didn't want today's video just to be strictly focused on decks. I wanted it to be more so on like counters and pushing and just stuff like that. So if you are in need of a deck, go down to the description below and I have made a few decks you guys can try out. If you're in Arena 2, I have decks for you. If you're in Arena 3, I have decks for you. And all of the decks have a variation of epics. Some of the decks have no epics at all. So basically no matter what cards you have, you should be able to find a deck that suits you. To begin the video, I want to go over the counters and counter attacking. The first epic you'll see a lot of lower level players using is the Prince, and the Prince pisses off a lot of people, but it's fairly easy to deal with. The first way is the way I deal with it in the video, and that's just placing a giant in front of it and completely ruining its push. However, let's say you have goblins, spear goblins, archers, or just any cheap troop at all, you can place those in the middle of the map, and the Prince will actually go off its course, go to the middle of the map, and then at that point you have both towers shooting it, and from there on the Prince is pretty much done with. The next card that pisses a lot of people off is the Skeleton Army, and the Skeleton Army again is a very easy troop to counter. All you have to do is spam some arrows on it, or of course throw a bomber down or a Valkyrie. Anything that does splash damage is going to wipe that Skeleton Army out instantly. The third card, which a lot of players will be using against you, is the Baby Dragon, and when I first started playing, the Baby Dragon absolutely pissed me off, and I cannot tell why. But the Baby Dragon again is another troop that is fairly easy to deal with. What you can do is wait for the Baby Dragon to start targeting one of your towers and then throw a musketeer, some archers, or maybe even spear goblins down, and those troops alone should be able to take the Baby Dragon out. But in this case I have the musketeer down, and the musketeer just shreds the Baby Dragon down almost instantly. And then one other card I figured I would mention, because as you head up in Arena 3 you will start seeing this. This is going to be the Hog Rider, and the Hog Rider is a fairly easy troop to counter. All you have to do is place a cannon down in the middle of the map, and the Hog will basically go off its course to destroy the cannon, and it's pretty similar to countering the Prince. And then of course if you don't have a cannon, you can throw some barbarians down in front of your tower, and that will make the Hog Rider kind of like stutter around the tower, and he won't be able to hit it for a few seconds, and by the time he actually gets to it, the Hog will pretty much be dead. Now I just covered a majority of the epics. However, if you find something like the Giant Skeleton, countering that is pretty similar to the Prince, just draw him off his course. And I just wanted to cover a majority of like the most common epics I usually see down there. So hopefully if you guys are in Arenas 2 and 3, you should be able to counter a majority of the pushes that the enemies do to you. Since you know how to counter all of these cards, again, countering should be pretty much common sense. And once you counter someone's troops, this kind of leads into counter pushing. So what kind of pushes can you do in Arenas 2 and 3? What I normally like to do is I'll just place a giant in the very back of the map, and by the time the giant normally approaches the bridge, I can then throw a musketeer down. If I have a witch, I can throw a witch down, and the witch behind a giant, again, if you're down low, is pretty much game over. And the same with the musketeer. Also, like I do in the video, I actually throw the bomber down, and the bomber is absolutely amazing. What happens is the giant targets the tower, the musketeer will be targeting the tower, and then you'll have the bomber just throwing his bomb down, destroying all of the troops that the enemy places. And guys, trust me, these three troops, or this combination of troops, is pretty much like game over. If you get these troops on their half, they are going to be screwed. Another substitute for the giant would be the knight. The knight is kind of weak, but he acts as a very good tank. So if you're trying to push the enemy and you're not too sure what to do, just simply place the knight down. Again, he's like a light tank, so if you're trying to do minier pushes or not as heavy pushes, the knight is a great option. Those are the main pushes I will recommend down there just because they're pretty safe and easy to do. However, if you want to mix it up and you have like the Prince, for example, you can send the Prince in and then you can send him in with like a bomber. The bomber will be sure to clear out all of the enemy troops. Then the Prince could pretty much have free reign on the enemy tower. Of course though, the push I showed with the giant musketeer and the other troops is pretty much one of the safest pushes you can probably do lower on. So I would definitely recommend you guys use that one. And the final portion of the video is going to be common enemy attack strategies, because when you're down here, you're going to experience spawners in Arena 3, and of course, you're going to experience dirty Xbow users. And guys, trust me, they're not too big of a deal to begin with. If you're against spawners, you just have to use heavy splash damage, so Bomber, Valkyrie, Bomb Tower, you name it, just use heavy splash damage. And in the description below, I do have anti-spawner / anti-Xbow decks, so if you're interested in those, if spawners are something that's annoying you, you can just feel free to check that out. And then finally, as far as Xbows go, Xbows are pretty easy to counter if you have a tank. I just recommend placing a giant down. The Xbow will be focused on the giant, and since the giant has so many hit points, the chances are the Xbow won't even be able to take it out. Also, keep in mind the Xbow can't target air, so if you have some minions, for example, you can throw those minions down and those might do a decent job as well. Also, if your giant is already halfway across the map targeting an Xbow, this might be a decent time to counter push. And I'm sure most of you know what counter push means, but just in case you don't, a counter push is basically turning a counter into a push. So if you're countering an Xbow and you have a giant on the Xbow, throw down a musketeer, throw down a bomber. Since you already have a giant there, you might as well turn your counter into a push, and instead of just taking out the Xbow, you can also take out the enemy crown tower as well. So guys, this is all I did have to say for today's video. Again, tomorrow I'll be uploading the best decks and strategies for Arena 4. If there's anything else you think I should touch on more, please let me know down in the comments below so I can try to perfect that video. Again, I'll have a link to the playlist, decks, and pretty much everything you might need down in the description below. I will also have some like mini tutorials next to the decks, just like a brief description on how to use those. So I really hope this video helped you guys out. I hope I covered everything important. Again, if I didn't, please let me know down in the comment section below. So guys, this has been Eclipse. I hope you all enjoyed, and peace out.